after him, and Shirley Toy, who is a member of the NNU union here in California, registered nurse. We're also joined by our Deputy Campaign Manager, Renee Spellman, and our Deputy State Director, Shelley. So I want to welcome you all here, and I'm going to turn this over to Senator Sanders.
Let me start off by making a very bold statement. I believe in democracy. I believe that in the United States of America, we should have the highest voter turnout of any major country on earth, not the lowest voter turnout. I believe that we should make it easier for people to participate in the political process, not harder. As I think most of you know, here in California, voting has already started, and there is a concern that many Californians do not have all of the information they need to participate in the presidential primary. In California, obviously, there are millions of people who register as Democrats. There are millions of people who register as Republicans. But, importantly, there are almost 5.5 million Californians who register with no party preference, no NPP, who are political independents in the state of California. In fact, the non-party preference voters are the second largest voting bloc in the state, behind Democrats, and, very importantly, are the fastest growing part of the California electorate. It is critical that the voices of independents, of people who have no party preference, be heard. Yet many NPP voters do not know that they need to request a Democratic Party crossover ballot in order to participate in the Democratic primary. In fact, only 10% of NPP voters have requested a Democratic Party crossover ballot as of this week, even though 88% of NPP voters have said they intend to participate in the presidential primary, with a majority stating that they intend to vote in the Democratic primary specifically. Unfortunately, because of the complexity of the situation, most NPP voters seem to be unaware that they have to request a Democratic Party crossover ballot in order to vote in the Democratic primary. Voting, in my view, should be made easy and accessible to everyone. And let me say that as President of the United States, that is exactly what my administration will do. Across the country, the Democratic Party is hard at work removing roadblocks that get in the way of American citizens exercising their right to vote. Meanwhile, as all of you know, in state after state, Republicans are pushing to make it harder for working class people, for people of color, for young people to vote, and they are doing everything in their power to disenfranchise them, and that is an absolute disgrace. You know, if you cannot win an election based on your ideas and your ability to convince people to vote for you, you should not run for office. But many cowards out there who can't win an election on their ideas are trying to suppress the vote all over this country. As the most populous state in the nation and one of the most progressive states in the nation, a state that is leading America in so many respects, California needs to be the gold standard in voter enfranchisement. Unfortunately, under the current NPP participation rules, we risk locking out millions of young people millions of young people of color and many, many other people who wanted to participate in the Democratic primary, but may find it impossible for them to do so. And that seems to me to be very, very wrong. That is why our campaign here in California has focused so hard on talking to these voters and making sure they know what they need to do if they want to vote in the Democratic presidential primary. We don't want millions of people to say, wow, I'm excited, I'm going to vote for this candidate, I'm going to vote for that candidate, and then find out that they're unable to cast that ballot. That is what we want to prevent. And that is why today we are here to make sure that NPP voters, again, NPP voters means you are an independent. You're not registered with the Democratic Party, you're not registered with the Republican Party. But if you want to vote in a presidential primary, you need to know how to do that. And if you want to vote in the Democratic primary, and by the way, if you'd like to vote for Bernie Sanders, and that primary is coming up on March 3rd, and if you are registered as a no-party preference voter, you must request a Democratic crossover ballot. Once again, if you are an independent, if you're a no-party preference voter, in order to vote in the Democratic primary, for me or for any of the other candidates who are on the ballot, you must request a Democratic crossover ballot, or you're not going to participate in the Democratic primary. If you vote by mail and already have a ballot at home that doesn't have the names of the Democratic candidates for president, do not use that ballot. Because if you use that ballot, you have voted, but you haven't voted in the Democratic primary. Instead, you can do one of two things. First, you can call, email, fax, or show up in person at your county elections office or vote center to request a ballot. You need to do this before February 25th. Before February 25th. Secondly, if you forget to request a crossover ballot ahead of time, or if you are an in-person voter rather than a vote-by-mail voter, you can still go to your polling place or your local county elections office to get one. Some vote centers will begin to be open tomorrow on the 22nd, but again, you can already go to your local county election office to get your Democratic ballot. Again, please do not use your old NPP ballot if you want to vote in the Democratic primary. Just turn in the new Democratic Party crossover ballot. So that is where we are right now. We have some 5 million people who are registered NPP. They're registered as independents, and I hope very much that in California we have the highest voter turnout in this primary that California has ever had. But in order to make that happen, those people who are independents, who are no party preference people, have got to request a Democratic ballot. So I hope they will do that, and I hope people will give thought to voting for us. Thank you very much.
Now our State Director, Rafael Navarro, will talk a little bit about the efforts that the campaign has undertaken